If you've been a part of the online video game fandom for a while, you'll be familiar with several of the long-time gaming mysteries. Things like L is Real 2401 in Super Mario 64 that tried to claim that Luigi was hidden in that game, or Mew is hidden under the truck in Pokemon Red and Blue, just to name a few. Over the years, these mysteries have either been confirmed false, like the Mew one, or partially true, like Luigi was at one point considered for Super Mario 64, but he isn't actually in the final game. Then sometimes, we actually get a full confirmation on one of those gaming mysteries, and the subject of today's video is one such mystery, Wapeach. During the creation of Super Mario Land 2, its developers thought it wouldn't be interesting having Mario go up against another scary boss character like Bowser, and so sketched a design that would more closely resemble Mario's but bigger and cooler. This was Wario, the anti-Mario, whose name was a combination of Mario and Waru, the Japanese word for bad. Wario became an immediate hit with both the developers and the fans, and very quickly became a series staple, getting his own series of spin-off games, a position as secondary antagonist alongside Bowser, and starting on the Nintendo 64, he became a mainstay cast member for all the spin-offs like Mario Kart, Party and Golf. But the existence of a bad Mario got many fans wondering about the possibility of other bad versions of Mario characters that might exist. 1996's Super Mario RPG gave us Boshi, a bad version of Yoshi whose Japanese name follows the same naming conventions as Wario, being Washi. And the Mario manga briefly gave us Wa Daisy, who's not her own character but just Daisy after being turned evil by Wario through hypnosis. But the most famous of these new bad characters is obviously Waluigi, who made his series debut in Mario Tennis on the Nintendo 64. Waluigi was specifically made in order to give Wario a partner for doubles tennis matches and give Luigi his own foil. While Nintendo themselves were originally asked to design the character, they turned around and asked Camelot to come up with a design themselves, and pretty much accepted Waluigi's design immediately, only making the request to have the upside down L on his cap, as it originally had a W just like Wario's. And the character became so popular that he got to reappear in Mario Party 3 as one of the game's main antagonists, and then came back for Mario Kart Double Dash as Wario's partner, permanently cementing his position as a Mario series mainstay. But of course, after Waluigi made his debut, fans got to speculating on who the next Mario character would be to get a bad variant, and the obvious first choice for this was Peach. The idea of a Wapeach had been going around in the fandom for a long time, with many fans trying to make guesses on how she might look. Some thought she might look like Shokuro's Wario variant from Wario Land 4, basically just Wario in a dress, while others speculated that she would be tall and muscular to contrast Peach's design in ways that Wario and Waluigi did for Mario and Luigi. Regardless though, these were all just speculative, as we had never seen any official design for Wapeach, and we had no idea if Nintendo had even considered the character. That was until 2012, when Did You Know Gaming reported that Camelot had in fact considered a Wapeach during the development of Mario Tennis 64. Then, in early 2023, an old Nintendo Dream interview with Shugo Takahashi, the director and vice president of Camelot, from 2008 was published online, and fans learnt that the team had indeed pitched a Wapeach to Nintendo at one point, but it was shot down. This understandably got the speculation train rolling, and we wouldn't even need to wait a year to find out what Nintendo had in mind, because on December 1st, 2023, Waluigi's character designer Fumihide Aoki shared his concept sketches and a 3D model of the Wapeach that Camelot had made. This was surprising and interesting for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, however, the design didn't really resemble what fans had in mind about the character, and I found that on its own to be quite interesting. Obviously, everyone will have different ideas on how a character like this should look, just based on their own imagination and how Wario and Waluigi were designed. But what struck me was just the misinformation out there about Wapeach. Aoki-san had people asking him about designs for Mario Tennis 64, and some commenters said that they thought Wapeach was shot down because she looked gross, when this character obviously leans more into the cute territory. It made me realise that, over the last 20 plus years, fan speculation around this character had gotten so wild that misinformation about it must have spread like wildfire and gotten everyone confused on the facts. And if you know anything about me and the work over at Source Gaming, tackling misinformation is kind of our MO. So of course I immediately decided to jump on this and look into the history of Wapeach. What is the truth? What is a lie? And was Miyamoto really right to deny Camelot and us fans this character? Let's try and go back to the beginning to find out. The earliest official mention of what could be Wapeach comes from issue 135 of Nintendo Power, published in August 2000, where Hiroyuki Takahashi and Shugo Takahashi were asked about Daisy returning in Mario Tennis 64. At the time, she was a pretty obscure character. In this interview, the duo explained that they wanted Peach to have a partner, and Nintendo suggested Daisy. We've actually had this confirmed a few times, and it's also why Birdo was added to Mario Tennis 64 as well, so that Yoshi could have a partner. But Hiroyuki-san also asked Nintendo about giving Wario and Waluigi girlfriends as well, to which Miyamoto-san said that he didn't even want to see their girlfriends. The whole thing is played off like a joke, and one of the implications here is that their girlfriends would probably be gross like them. This statement was then backed up in October 2000 on Camelot's official website, where they used to answer questions from fans. In this blog, they talked about why certain characters were chosen for the game, including Waluigi, and in this blog, Wapeach is actually name-dropped for the first time. It's here that they jokingly write about what Wapeach might look like, saying that a figure of Wario dressed as a woman crossed their mind, and that they've already drawn this one. However, they then end this segment by saying that Nintendo had already told them in advance that they didn't want to see a Wapeach, because it wouldn't look cute, which the author jokingly acknowledges would probably be the case. This Japanese blog post was then reported by Did You Know Gaming on their website and in videos in 2012, which is how the idea of Wapeach first reached Western audiences on a wider scale. This is almost certainly where the idea that Wapeach being gross comes from. After all, it is mentioned twice. Hiroyuki-san also mentions girlfriends in plural, which would imply that Daisy might have been considered as well. Then we also have the 2008 interview with Nintendo Dream, where Wapeach was brought up again, and Miyamoto-san was also said to have rejected her, just like in the original Nintendo Power interview. These are the only official mentions of Wapeach out there, at least until the concept art dropped, but from this we can determine a kind of narrative around Wapeach that goes something like this. Camelot designed Waluigi first, and then later drew up ideas for Wapeach and Daisy. These ideas were brought up with Nintendo, specifically Miyamoto-san, but he outright rejected them because he thought the idea was gross. This information would get discussed online in the West thanks to its inclusion in Nintendo Power, and discussed in Japan thanks to the Camelot blog post. Then Did You Know Gaming found this information and reported it far and wide, making even more people aware about the existence of Wapeach. This was then reaffirmed with the 2008 interview with Camelot, which was published online in 2023, which added on to this that Miyamoto didn't even look at the designs they had come up with, and just turned it down outright on concept alone. This is the narrative we've all had, and technically, nothing is really wrong here. However, there has been a misunderstanding, and thanks to Aoki-san's comments around Wapeach, we can now more easily identify these mistakes. So for starters, there was no Daisy, and in fact there wasn't a Wapeach either back in the Mario Tennis 64 days. While the idea of Wapeach was floated around the Camelot offices after Waluigi's inception, and was pitched to Nintendo, there was no official concept art developed for the character. Maybe someone sketched the idea of Wario in a dress jokingly, but nothing was ever formally presented to Nintendo, and what was said to them was just shot down before it could even begin, most likely because they didn't think it would be cute. The Daisy misconception comes from the use of girlfriends, plural, and the context of the question being about doubles partners, and without seeing the original answers in Japanese, it's hard for me to claim that there was a mistranslation or something here. After all, Japanese doesn't really use plurals like we do in English. However, according to Aoki-san, there was never a Daisy. There was an idea for a Yoshi, a dragon with horns and wings who could be paired with Wapeach, but no Daisy. The second misconception comes from Wapeach being ugly. The concept art we have of Wapeach shows that she's cute, so why would Nintendo and Miyamoto be disgusted by her? Well, to explain this, we actually have to look at the 2008 interview, because there is one key piece of information that many fans have overlooked. It's another misconception. This interview isn't talking about Mario Tennis 64. It's talking about Mario Power Tennis on the GameCube. In the interview, Shugo-san says that after Waluigi was approved with ease, he got the impression that if they made something good, then Nintendo would just simply approve it, and so they wanted to make another original character in their next game. This character was going to be Wapeach. So actually, the timeline looks something like this. They pitched Wapeach without a design for Mario Tennis 64, and it was shot down by Nintendo and Miyamoto-san. Then, for Mario Power Tennis, they actually created a design for Wapeach and went to Nintendo again with that, but it was shot down a second time. Yes, Miyamoto-san shot down Wapeach not once, but twice. And with this knowledge, it becomes a lot more obvious why Wapeach looks the way she does. Ayuki-san said that he believes Wapeach would have been accepted as long as the design was good enough, and we know from their comments around Mario Tennis 64 that Nintendo didn't want to have a gross-looking princess, so of course Wapeach would be designed to be cute instead. Being gross wasn't why this design was rejected. So why was it rejected? Well, according to Ayuki-san, he believes it was because there wasn't a character to pair her up with in doubles. They weren't going to be able to make two OCs, and Wapeach didn't have a partner in the already existing Mario canon like Waluigi did, or Toadette did in Mario Kart Double Dash. However, this doesn't align with what Shugo-san said in the 2008 interview. He said that Miyamoto shot down the design before they could even show it to him because, even if I don't see it, it probably looks like Doronjo anyway. Who is Doronjo, you might ask? Doronjo is the main villain of the 1977 anime series Yataman, a very famous and influential anime in Japan that's a part of the Time Bokan series. But why did Miyamoto assume they would just make Doronjo? Well, that's because they already tapped into the Yataman series before with Waluigi. Doronjo has two henchmen, Boyaki and Tonzura, and the former was the primary inspiration for Waluigi. Boyaki and Tonzura are the bumbling henchmen of Doronjo, one of them being skinny and lanky and the other being stocky and muscular. Does that ring any bells? The dynamic here was perfect for Wario and Waluigi, so assuming that the female of the group would be just like Doronjo makes a lot of sense. And well, Miyamoto-san wasn't wrong at all with his assumption. While Shugo claims that their original idea for Wapeach is different to Doronjo, even though they both fall under this fallen angel type of character, looking at the concept art, I think Miyamoto was right. Both characters are blonde and seemingly wear leather, and both have a headpiece with cone-shaped sides jutting out that sometimes move. Their designs also appear to have a kind of cat motif going on, at least in the head shape. Also, Aoki-san said in a comment that he envisioned the dynamic she would have with Wario and Waluigi to be the same as Doronjo, specifically as a tribute to Yataman. So yeah, she's just the Mario version of Doronjo. Now to be fair, there are elements of this design that do make Wapeach unique. For starters, she's actually a child. If it wasn't obvious from the face, I compared her height to a model of Peach, and Wapeach comes out at being around Mario's height, without the crown. Maybe even smaller actually. A lot of her design elements would actually go on to be used later in Mario Tennis Power Tour, like the eyes, face and cheek blush. These would be used for some of the original humans in that game, notably the young girls like Nina and Paula. Also, Aoki-san said in a comment that she was a child. So that analysis of mine just now was a complete waste of my time. I wish I had found this comment first. She also has this big axe, which Aoki-san said was there to create a contrasting image of something that is cute but also scary, claiming that Wapeach's personality would become scary if she was provoked by someone. So clearly here, Camelot were going for a cute but scary image for Wapeach rather than Doronjo, who has more of a sexy and commanding image instead. I imagine Wapeach would end up being goofy and incompetent at times though, which does match with Doronjo, simply because that's how the dynamic would work with Wario and Waluigi. Now let's sum up the history of Wapeach then, as accurately as I can. It started after Waluigi was designed and accepted by Nintendo with relative ease. This got Camelot thinking about other potential OCs that they could add to the Mario universe, and one of these was Wapeach, a counterpart to Peach that could be paired with Wario and Waluigi. While still just an idea, it was immediately rejected by Nintendo and Miyamoto-san specifically because they felt like the idea of a Wapeach would just be gross, just like Wario and Waluigi themselves are, and they didn't want that. So Wapeach didn't go ahead in Mario Tennis 64, but Camelot still wanted to see the character come to fruition, and decided to rework the idea for the next Mario Tennis game they were working on for the GameCube, Mario Power Tennis. They designed up a character, clearly taking inspiration from Doronjo, just as they had previously done for Waluigi and Boyaki, but made sure that the character would be cute and not gross. They still gave her that bad energy by dressing her in dark colours and giving her a scary personality, but she was a child and so had an adorable side to her as well. Unfortunately, before they could even show this design to Miyamoto-san, he shot them down after correctly assuming that they were going to just make a character based on Doronjo, which he didn't want. It's possible that this was the end of Wapeach then and there, and Camelot gave up on the idea, or they may have tried pitching the character once more and got shot down again, this time for a more logistical purpose, specifically that Wapeach wouldn't have a doubles partner that would make sense, which when looking at the roster does kind of add up if you assume Wiggler and PD Piranha were included to be partners for each other. So, after being shot down for either the second or third time, Wapeach was scrapped, and the concept was never addressed again. This doesn't mean we'll never see a Wapeach in the future though. While Aoki-san wonders if the concept of an evil version of Peach itself may not be acceptable, we've seen potential examples of this before, with the Shadow Queen in Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, the Shrew Princess in Partners in Time, and potentially Grape in the upcoming, as of writing, Princess Peach Showtime. Either way, if we do get a Wapeach in the future, this design for the character was rejected, and so she wouldn't look like this if it happens. Also, to just address the Doronjo comment from Miyamoto one more time, it may not have been an issue of the character being designed to look like Doronjo, or even being inspired by Doronjo, seeing as there are many series out there with characters inspired by the Doronjo gang, including the Pokemon anime's Team Rocket. Rather, and this is just speculation on my part, the problem comes from Wario. In this potential dynamic, Wario and Waluigi would end up becoming goons for Wapeach, but Wario isn't that kind of character, and by this point in Wario's history, he was the star of his own platforming series, the main antagonist of several titles, and was just starting up his own video game business. To introduce a Wapeach in this capacity would shake up the established dynamic that Nintendo had made for Wario, and they weren't going to just let that happen. Because in this house, Wario is number one.